Hi everyone, TARDIS 123 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 4th Doctor story, Planet of Evil. Now this story is one of those ones that kind of gets looked down upon because it's a good story in a great season and whatnot, in a great time. Because I mean it's surrounded by stories such as Pyramids of Mars, Terror of the Zygons, Genesis of the Daleks, Braid of Morbius, Seeds of Doom and whatnot, and it kind of gets looked down upon because of those. Now, this is along with one of those other ones, the Android Invasion, which is in the same season, season 13. And they're both kind of looked down upon when compared to the others. Now, I personally quite like Android Invasion, if you've seen that review. I prefer it to the Braid of Morbius in that season. And when comparing this to Braid of Morbius, I do think that Braid of Morbius is better, which makes this my least favourite of Season 13. I haven't seen Seeds of Doom yet, so do note that, but I've seen all the others, and out of all those 5, this is my least favourite. Now, it's not bad at all, as I was saying before, it's a good story in a great season. And to be honest, it kind of, tone-wise, it doesn't have that much gothic horror in it. It's got a lot of horror. So for me, it more fits into the tone of the previous season. Stories like Genesis of the Daleks and The Ark in Space. It more fits into that kind of category than the gothic horror of seasons 13 and 14. Now, the basic plot is the Doctor and Sarah receive a distress call and head to Zeta Minor, the last planet of the known universe, which is basically the midpoint between the universe of matter and the universe of antimatter. Now, the setup for that is very good, I think. And, yeah, you've also got a great jungle set. I mean, on film it looks amazing. On videotape it still looks quite good. But unfortunately, a lot of the time it feels like most of the money has been spent on that jungle set rather than the rest, because you got quite a quite a middling spaceship with quite bad costumes, to be honest. They are some of the worst. They feel like a cheaper version of the ones seen in Frontier in Space. And the ones seen in Frontier in Space themselves were quite cheap, but they look a lot more convincing than the ones in here, I'm afraid to say. Now, as for guest actors, I think they're all really quite good, really. I think the actors themselves are great. Some of the characters are quite bad. The captain of the ship, whose name I've forgotten, it begins with an S, but I forgot his name. Now, his character's a bit too inconsistent for me. And the way he keeps wanting to kill the Doctor and Sarah, the way he keeps wanting to do that, it's kind of, it gets repetitive after a while. Then you got his second in command, who I've also forgotten the name of. And yeah, he's much more likable, but yeah, he does kind of often fade in towards the background and is slightly forgettable, but I think he's a likable character. And it kind of makes you think, why is he not in charge? So at first, when I first saw him, because there's no distinguishing in the costumes, they all look the same. In that respect, I thought, oh, he's the commander because he's acting like the commander and whatnot. But no, it's actually the other one, and I think that's a bit odd, if I'm honest. And kind of like throughout the story, you still think, why is he in command and he isn't? And it's obviously meant to make you think that, and he eventually does get into command, but still, it's quite odd in that respect. So yeah, there's that. Now, Doctor and Sarah are great in this. I think they really are on top form, really. I mean, they're great in loads of stories, but I do like them in this one a lot as well. And the Doctor's got quite serious speeches as well. It's a bit like in Genesis of the Daleks when he's going on about, do I have to write? It's kind of like there's stuff about that where he's talking to the others. And the story itself actually it's quite dark, with the Doctor trying to convince someone to commit suicide just to save everyone else's life. And the person who does Sorensen, who he tries to convince, Sorensen, almost does it as well, but then he gets taken over by the antimatter inside of him and becomes Anti-Man, which sounds like a comic book character. But yeah, anyway. So you got you got the Anti-Man. Now, the antimatter monsters, these were producer Philip Hinchcliffe's idea because he wanted to get away from the typical man in a suit. So he made these monsters quite different through special effects, and I think they are very convincing. They are very good. I mean, the alien type monster is quite good and quite worrying. It's quite scary. But then you've got the ones that are copies of Sorensen. When they're kind of like they're all over the ship, and when they're going through the ship, they are much more scary because there's a couple of shots where you can kind of like see the face and it fades away and whatnot, and it's quite scary, really. And I think this is probably one of the most scariest stories in Doctor Who's history. I mean, especially if you're a young kid watching this, then you are probably going to be quite scared. To be honest, I think it's one of those ones that if you're a child, it's amazing and scary, but if you're an adult, it kind of unimpresses you a lot of the time. There is some pretty grim stuff in this, and you got a lot of deaths, and also the deaths because they get all the water taken out of them, the people who die, and their bodies are quite grim. To be honest, they send a chill down the spine, and they're not the most pleasant thing to look at all. So, and I like that. I like how it's being quite dark and gritty and whatnot. I think that's one very good thing this story has going for it. Now, unfortunately, when you get into the second half of the story, you don't see the jungle set hardly at all. Then you move into the studio set of the ship. So yeah, that's quite poor because the ship itself is quite poorly designed and quite uninteresting. So yeah, you're more relying on the actors then to carry you along and whatnot. So I think all that's quite good. A lot of the indoor stuff and whatnot is quite poor, but the film shots of the jungle set are very good, as I mentioned before. So I think that's basically all. The story itself is quite good, I think, a lot of the time. It does get a bit dull at points, but most of the time you get carried along by it. And yeah, I think rating it, I'd probably rate it a 6 out of 10, I'm afraid. Because, I mean, it is, as I said before, my least favourite of Season 13. And given that it's Season 13, which is arguably the most amazing season in Doctor Who's history, saying it's my least favourite that season is not bad whatsoever. So, yeah, 6 out of 10 I'd probably stick by. And, yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on this one. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Next week's review will probably be The Time Warrior. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.